All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome down to the DJs Guru Hangout, episode 34, Mr. Switch.
Episode 34. Good Lord.
34 episodes we have done over several years here. And hey, thanks so much for coming on. I want to say hello to everyone out there watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch. We are so happy to have you down here tonight. Today, it is Tuesday, January 13th. It's 2026, and we are talking about mistakes today. And not just any mistakes, Switch, mistakes that cost thousands. I don't even know if it's day or night.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm on the West Coast, so it is very much still morning for me.
Yeah.
I should not be up this early. But here we are.
My name is Justin Schwarz. My co-host today is Mr. Jeff Sorensen, DJ Switch PDX. How are you, Jeff? How's everything been?
Doing all right, man. It's been a weird year for sure in my DJ career. A lot of big changes, a lot of growth. I'm definitely looking forward to talking about more of that because I think it's going to be relevant. One thing in particular is going to be very relevant to the conversation we're having today. So can't wait to get into it.
Great. Well, we're going to dive into it in just a moment. We'll kind of go through everything, but make sure you're checking us out on social media at the DJs Guru. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, of course. Very important. If you have any questions, if you have anything to add, please drop them down below. We are nothing without our audience, so please get involved. Let's hear from you. We really want to keep the conversation going. So if there's anything you disagree with, anything you agree with, whatever it might be, we want to hear from you. We're nothing without our audience. And thank you once again for everyone watching and listening, not just live, but on the replay. And of course, we are sponsored by DJSupplyStore.com. For all you DJs and event professionals out there, check us out at DJSupplyStore.com. Tons of good stuff there, and always here to help with anything you might need. All right, Jeff. So I think we're going to dive right into it.
Okay.
These DJ mistakes cost thousands. And I think the first thing we'll kind of just go over quickly is
thousands of dollars, by the way, right? That's,
could be dollars. And in this context, yes, it was dollars. But I think as we go through our list here, and we'll see that, there are other things other than money that can be that there can be a cost of when you're not necessarily doing, or you're developing bad habits and not necessarily checking all the boxes when it comes to being a professional DJ, clients,
opportunities, etc.
Yeah. And I mean, followers, social media followers, those types of things. These are all numbers and things that are going to be important as we continue to move on in life here. And, money obviously is important, but it's not everything. And there's a lot at stake here. And you know what? That being said, it's a great segue. What is at stake? So if you develop bad habits, if you're developing and you're consistently making these types of mistakes, what are you going to lose? You're going to lose potential tips. You might get some bad reviews, right? Something that you might not notice that a guest might notice. They leave you a bad review because they didn't like it. Losing referrals, right? If you're not doing a good job at the event, they're probably not going to recommend you. And as we both know, those are gold. Replacement gear emergency buys. There's nothing worse in my business than having to go through that, right? And be the person who has the situation that needs it by yesterday, because if they don't have it, they're going to have to give back $500 or not be able to even do the event. But from the retail side, making that happen for customers a lot of times can be a challenge. We always do our best to come through, but you know what? We do our best. And lost repeat venues. and you're a club DJ or were a club DJ like me, if you're going in there and you're making these mistakes that we're going to go through, you know, one of them is poor sound management, for instance. So if you're going into a club and you're constantly blowing their system or making the guests uncomfortable with whatever it might be, it's very likely that you might not get a call back, right? So this is what's at stake, and this is what you should consider as we go through this list. And anything that I might miss, anything that we didn't cover, of course, please comment. We want to hear from you. Switch.
Yep.
Your thoughts. What do you think about what I said so far? And
maybe I think you're right on, man. I think you know, these are the kinds of things that we, you know, it's so easy to get excited about becoming a DJ and get excited about finding new clients and get excited about like taking on new challenges and new opportunities. And it's very easy to let a lot of these things slip through the cracks. But it's so important that we keep up on this stuff, because this is the stuff that really determines the health of our career, right? This is the stuff that really kind of like decides whether or not we get to play the next gig or we get to move on to the next thing, or whether we really are growing or if we're just stagnating with where we're at in our careers. I know I ran into this same problem when I was working as a mobile DJ years ago. You know, I was doing everything right. I was getting okay reviews, you know, and I was, you know, still booking gigs out of a mobile op, you know, what they call a multi-op, where it's just like a mobile DJ company that has multiple DJs that they send out every week.
Sure.
And so I was just one of several DJs that was working for this company that would get booked gigs and sort of get assigned clients. You know, it was one of those things where I was doing all the right things and I was saying all the right stuff and I was doing everything that was asked of me, and I still was just floating. I was still making not nearly as much as I could have been. I was still kind of just fighting the tide, basically, until I started really considering, like, what are my long-term goals? What could I be doing differently? What could I be doing better? And those are the things that really kind of helped me get over that hump and move forward with my career and into a better place. So
great. I thank you for that. One of my New Year's resolutions, or I like to set goals, but this was a more generalized, I guess, resolution for me, was be more disciplined. And I think these mistakes and the advice that we'll give about them really just comes down to being as disciplined as possible in when you consider yourself to be a professional. And none of this is insulting or judgments or anything like that. It's just, I think, what the standard should be when you want to be considered a professional, you know, because there's so many DJs out there, and there's different levels, right? So I think we should get on with the list. What do you think?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. And once again, thank you everyone watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on the watching live and on the replay. And I got a quick question for everyone out there. We'll start with poll question number 1. And please answer this. Every week I have a daughter, and every week we talk about what was your best mistake this week? Because I grew up afraid of making mistakes, and I don't want my daughter to be afraid of making mistakes, because every mistake you made is an opportunity to learn something, right? So what has been your best DJ mistake? I'd love to hear that. And what did you learn from it? Because that's really the goal here, is to learn and not make these mistakes again if you don't have to, right?
Yeah. Hey, real quick, shout out to my boy Craig Nelson on YouTube, who's hanging out in the chat. I see you, man.
Yeah, also watching Gaines. What's up, Gaines? How are you, my man? Thank you for checking in. And yes, Craig. What's happening, Craig Nelson? Welcome down.
My dude, DJ Poe. Yeah, he and I actually did a vinyl show together, which was really cool. I got to share some vinyl records out of my collection on his vinyl setup for one of his streams.
Cool.
That was a couple of months ago at this point, but yeah, it was really, really fun.
All right. Well, without any further ado, let's go to mistake number 1. And mistake number 1, this is a pretty good one. Not reading the room. great technique means nothing if the energy is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah,
this is a big one, I think. And I think this is something that I think comes with experience.
yeah.
I think, geez, my first couple of gigs, I didn't even know there were people there. Like I was just having so much fun and I didn't care. I was just emulating the DJs I would see at the clubs and that was what I wanted to do. It was really my party, that's what was going on at those first couple of events. But it's, again, you don't know what you don't know. So what are some common traps, right? Like what did I just say? It was my party. So playing for yourself, right? Playing the music that you want to hear, or what I used to say was, these people need me to educate them. They need to hear the newest music.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to hear the newest music. I wasn't considering the guests, which it's all about the guests, right?
Right.
Playing for the couple, right? If you're doing a wedding or an engagement party or something like that, only playing for the couple. Now, unless they specifically tell you to just play from their list, I think there's always a little latitude that if their list isn't working, perhaps you try something else.
Yeah. And I think there's that one especially, just to take a quick pause and address that one. I have fallen into the trap of allowing couples to sort of dictate a playlist for me to play. And years ago I made that mistake, and ever since then I've been very open up front during the planning stage of like, hey, look, if you're gonna hand me 200 songs to play, then I might as well not even be there. Like, I need to be able to do my job. And if you want to give me some suggestions, great. Like if you want to give me an idea of your style of music or some stuff that you absolutely need to hear, sure, I'll take 20, 30 songs. But I've fallen into that trap of getting handed 8 pages worth of music and only play these. And it's like, all right, well, why am I here? At that point, Spotify is probably your best,
I have also been in that situation. And when I met the couple, and then when I actually got to the event, they only wanted me to play their music. It was very, very intricate with what their direction was, and you were not allowed any latitude.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing was, all of their guests also accommodated, and that's what they wanted. And it was their wedding, man, and they wanted all the attention, and they got it, and it was great.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, just be mindful of what the client wants, right? And be clear and communicate that. Here's another one. Staying in one BPM lane, which I think is important to understand, meaning, all right, you're only playing 124 all night. You're only going to play 116 all night.
Yeah.
I think you need a little bit of up and down to make
gotta change
those 124 sets really pop. What do you think?
Yeah, you gotta move them around a little bit. You can't just, you can't just keep the same tempo all night long, because it's gonna get boring and stagnant. Like regardless of how clean your mixes are, regardless of how well you're blending everything together, no matter what tracks you're playing, if you're not moving the BPM around, then you're losing out on a lot of what makes a set musical. And people might not be able to identify what the problem is if they're not familiar with DJing, but they are going to feel it. And if they feel it, you lost them.
That's a great insight, because you're right. It's all about energy. And this is a very delicate piece of advice, because if you don't transition properly, you could clear the dance floor. So this is a skill, I think, that you really have to learn over time. And it is one of those things that it's hard to really have you and I here teaching it. You just have to learn how to be vigilant and watching.
Yeah.
And being aware and feeling it. For me, a lot of times it's a feeling. I could start to feel it, and I could see that I'm losing attention, right? I think that's kind of what it is. And I know when to kind of mix it up, So
I was an audio engineer in college for a 16 voice jazz choir, and we went in the studio to record an album. And I remember there was a dude that I went to high school with who was this incredibly talented singer. Funny enough, ended up taking over the choir for our old high school years later, but that's another story for another time. We were in the studio in college, and he kept wanting to get into the second verse of his solo feature by cranking his energy to like 11, but it was only the second verse. And I told him, hey man, like give yourself somewhere to go. Like dial it back a little bit in that second verse so that you have room to ramp it up for the third verse and for the fourth. Like you're giving them everything right at the top. You've got nowhere to go for the rest of the song. And that I could feel that in the room, and I kind of gave him that note, and he ended up killing the track. Like he was so good, man. But I always thought about that moment in terms of like the rest of, as I was progressing in my DJ career, like you got to give yourself somewhere to go. And if you're at 130 or 140, drop it back down and then build it back up again, because the process of building it back up is going to give people a chance to take a breath, grab a drink, and then get back into it. And as long as you're building, you have that momentum. You're not just stagnating. You're going to keep them on the floor.
Yeah, that's a good thought, because it's true. Dancing can be tiring for some people, right? And if you're really into it, people sweat on the dance floor. You need a break. You need to get a drink. Maybe it's an alcoholic beverage. Maybe it's a non-alcoholic beverage, whatever it is. But sometimes people do need a break. So that's really good advice. And I like that. Another thing to make sure you're considering is the age mix. That's a big thing. I didn't point that out. And making sure you're not keeping your head down. So as far as the age mix, if you got a bunch of people that are over the age of 70 on the dance floor, probably not the best idea to be playing all the current hits and only the current hits. You might want to start to mix it up and play some stuff that they might be more aware of or brings them back to when they used to dance and things like that. And conversely, if it's a young crowd, you don't want to be playing, disco all night either, right? So, anything to add on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I especially talking about like the age in the room, like, when I work with young DJs or when I work with new DJs who are sort of like learning their way around this kind of thing, you have to start with reading the room, because that's going to be one of those skills that is going to take forever to master, right? Like what's the old phrase? Takes a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Conceptually, it's very easy to understand what reading the room is. Like you can kind of explain it in a minute or two, but it's going to take forever. Like, honestly, there's still things about room reading that I'm still learning after years of doing it. And I can even remember the first time I was in a room where somebody really like taught me how to read a club properly. I was told by a friend of mine, like when I got into club DJing, I was told, hey, go to this club, introduce yourself to this guy, and say I sent you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went to the club, I went and found the DJ, and I introduced myself. I said, hey, so-and-so sent me. And he's like, oh yeah, he told me you were coming. Stand up here, don't touch anything. And I did for like a year and a half. I would go in on Saturday nights and watch it. He was like the Saturday night DJ at this club that I worked at. I would work a couple nights a week, and then on Saturdays I would go in off the clock and just watch him work. And sometimes I would work the mic for him. And it was an amazing opportunity to learn from a dude who had been spinning since 1978, man. And he had forgotten more about reading a room and about how to play to a crowd, especially in that room, than I had remembered for a long time. So,
yeah, I'm going to tell you, I am a parent and I am a father. And it's also apparent as you become a parent that you make bad jokes like that. And also you start to notice signs and you start to see things a lot of times before they happen. You start to really understand the temperature of the room and the energy in the room. And for me, it's very similar when I'm working a crowd, and if I start to see people walking off, I mean, that's typically my first sign that, all right, I got to be really vigilant and watching what's happening and why did I lose that person? If I see another person now walk up, maybe it's me and it's time to change it up. So it's really just, you want to keep people on the dance floor, right? And if that changes for whatever reason, understand that it's something that likely you're doing as the DJ. You're controlling the energy in the room. So it's really one of those things. And I'd love to hear what you guys and girls out there think too, watching live or on the replay. So feel free to drop your comments in there. All right, Switch. Let's move on to mistake number 2, which is no backups.
Yeah.
I feel like this one is has been said so many times, but I think in 2026, what the backups are much easier to have, to make sure that you have with you, and are, I think, more important than ever. So what are some common traps here? And I always talk about this one. You can have a $27,000 sound system, $30,000 lighting system, and it can be the best thing ever. And you can forget one $6 cable and none of it works. Right?
Yeah.
And you can also get to an event and the cable could be bad. You might have it, but it might not work when you plug it in. So I'm not a hoarder. I don't know about you, but I hoard cables.
Yeah.
I can't throw cables out. I have, and sometimes I will you'll see in my van or whatever it is that I use that at that event, there's like 3 extra bags in the back, and it's like every cable I've ever owned for every possible adapter, and just in case, because you never know.
Listen, I will replace the end on that XLR cable with the broken clip when I get around to it. Never mind the fact that I've had it for 8 years and I still haven't fixed it.
Adapters, same thing, you know. Only one microphone. You got to have a backup microphone. You got to.
Yeah.
A, it could break. B, I don't want anyone else touching my microphone. So if I have to hand the microphone off to someone, they're going to take the backup, the spare, right? That's just me personally. There's a lot of reasons why you may or may not want to do it. Yeah. I feel like I just did a New Year's Eve event. I put my USB in and it wasn't reading.
Oh, no.
It's a good thing I had 3 of them with exactly the same, there were 3 duplicates, and I just, in case, had it.
Yeah.
And the second one, and it worked great. Second audio source option, I think, is a big thing. I mean, most people are using DJ controllers nowadays, but if you're using CDJs or if you're using turntables, whatever it is, those go wrong. Guess what? You might have to finish that event on the laptop, playing from Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it is, but at least you are able to finish the event. Might not be perfect, but it's better than nothing, right? So having a dedicated audio source, back when I first started, you'd bring an extra like single CD player, things like that. But nowadays, even the DJ to goes of the world, or like a mix track or a Flex 4, one of those smaller entry-level controllers, something like that, DJ to go, I think, is $100, and that'll get you through,
Yeah, I've played whole club sets on a DJ to go too. Like those devices are so much more valuable than people give them credit for. And I honestly think any professional DJ needs to have a $100 to $200 controller as a backup or as a practice rig or something, because it's not always practical to pull out my $1,500 Rain or my $3,000 turntable rig. Like, it just doesn't make sense every time I want to sit down and play with a mix or play with a little bit of a something. So I've got a reloop ready that I use like pretty regularly, and that's a pretty full featured controller considering it fits in a backpack.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And I always have an extra set of speakers in the back. I always bring an extra set of speakers. They're there, and because you just never know. I've been lucky. It's also that I do my best to make sure that my gain staging and I don't redline, all that is correct.
Yeah.
But I've never really had that issue at an event. But if I did, I don't want to do the rest of the event with 1 or 0 speakers, right?
Yeah.
So I got to take a quick trip out and send out someone that I'm working with to go grab it. Hey, at least the party must go on, right?
I have a very specific, very short story to tell about that. Actually, there was there's a charity event that I do every year with my MC here in Portland called Laced Up PDX, and it's an event where we collect shoes and clothing and school supplies for a bunch of school age kids on the east side of Portland. And we do this event every August, like late August, just in time for the school season. We give the kids haircuts, we feed everybody. It's a big old cookout. And then we've got basketball hoops set up so they can, play around and shoot some hoops and then do some activities and things. We've got some sponsors. We've been sponsored by some of the biggest brands, Nike, Adidas, Comcast. I mean, the sky's the limit, dude. Like Microsoft sponsored us for a couple of years. Like it was pretty dope. But one year, about 2 years ago, we had a plane crash about 4 blocks away and knock out power to that entire region of Portland.
Wait, I saw that episode. That was Breaking Bad, right?
Nope. No, this happened in real life. There was a literal plane crash. Somebody brought a plane down onto a golf course, like a few blocks away from where we were doing this charity event, and they knocked out power to the entire space.
Oh my God.
And my Mackie Thump Go saved the entire event.
Look at that.
I had a Mackie Thump Go and a pair of the X5 U3s. So I went battery powered, and we still had a microphone so that our guest speaker from the Green Bay Packers for the event that day could still do his speech on my little battery powered wireless. And I had just enough oomph to get a little bit of music so it wasn't dead silent and it didn't completely kill the vibe. We managed to pull off the entire event on a single little battery powered 8-inch only because I had it with me, because we didn't have any power to the entire building. So sometimes it's not even your gear. Sometimes it's not even your fault. You're right. But having a backup solution ready to go so that you can save the gig in a moment of crisis, people are going to be so much more forgiving if they realize that like it would have been so much worse without your backup solution.
Beautiful. That's great. And you know what? Great segue to our next poll question. And this is to everyone out there. And maybe you can tell me yours, DJ Switch, because I already kind of mentioned mine a little bit. But are you currently running a backup plan? And what is it?
Oh, yeah.
Right? I have speakers in my car. I've got either my CDJs or my controller, but I have my laptop just in case it's there connected. And if I have an issue, I can play right out of it into the speakers if I need to, which I don't ever recommend doing that on the regular. But if I have to get through the event, I will do it. Sometimes you have an issue with the controller, but the mixer portion of it still works. You can run it through there, whatever it might be. What about you?
Yeah, I don't have my wallet actually with me. It's in my bedroom. But in my wallet, I keep a USB-C to 1/8-inch adapter just in case I have to plug my phone in. And I always have it in my wallet and I always have it with me. And so literally like part of having a backup plan is knowing your gear and knowing workarounds to your gear, right? Like if I lose power, I can do this. If I lose my hard drive, I can jump on this service and get music on the fly and keep the party going, right? But worst case scenario, if all else fails, I've got that little 1/8-inch adapter in my wallet that I know if it comes to it, I will plug my damn phone in and keep that party going, because nothing's going to stop me from doing my job.
I love it. What's your backup plan for those listening and watching out there? Let's hear it. Leave those comments and let us know. We're all here to learn, and I want to learn something new every day. And if I'm not doing something right, I want to know. If I can do it better, I want to know. I like that. That makes me happy. All right. Number 3, Switch. Did you have anything else to add about backup?
No, I honestly, that's one of those conversations where like we could probably do an entire stream just on backup solutions.
We could do a show on each one of these topics. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we are here to talk about 5 mistakes that will make and not cost DJs thousands.
you know, if people want to hear a more in-depth conversation on any one of these topics, they can leave a comment and they can make sure to subscribe so that they can come back and watch other live streams, because you're going to keep doing this throughout the year, right?
You're very right. You're very right. My goal is to do this weekly, 1 o'clock every Tuesday. That's my goal, right? I talked about discipline, and that is the definition, is doing it every week. All right. Number 3, poor sound management.
What does that mean?
Ruined sound and credibility.
When you say poor sound management, do you mean like gear management, or do you mean like managing other people's equipment?
What I mean, it's a great question, and we'll go through some of the. No, it's managing your own sound. What the sound is coming out of your speakers, right? So, to your question, what am I talking about? Harsh highs.
Yeah.
Muddy bass.
Yeah.
Too loud, not loud enough. Clipping. Like, wow, did you go so loud the speaker shut off? That's clipping. Bad gain staging. Not understanding room acoustics. That's a huge one, I think, that people seem to not always understand, that there's not a one-size-fits-all sound system. You're going to go into room number 1 and sound system is going to sound great. You're going to go into another room and you're going to say, what happened? Where is all the sound? But the second room, has 60-foot high ceilings. It's tremendously long. It has, maybe it's brick or some sort of stone. There are so many different things that affect the sound. So like whenever people say, how many people can it cover? When they're asking about a sound system or speakers or whatever, it depends. What room are we talking about, right? So,
well, and what I see a lot of DJs do wrong is the opposite. They go into a place like a smaller space, or they go into a space where they think they need to crank it up so you can feel the music, but you're not competing with any other sound systems in that room. You're the only sound system there, man. You can turn it down. People will still hear you. I promise. Like, you don't have to blow people's ears out to get them to build hype and to build energy.
I think this is definitely connected with our next mistake, and overall, one of those things that's kind of the hidden mistake that people don't always understand. And this is where you don't get the call back. This is where you don't get the referral. This is where, the nightclub or the lounge or the bar or the karaoke joint or whatever it is you're doing, they don't call you back. Right.
Yeah.
So there is something that I learned in the past when it comes to customer service. And this is, I think, important to understand. For every one person that actually complains to you about something, out of 30, there's about 29 of them that say nothing. But you know what they do? They never give you business ever again. They never come back. They never buy from you again. They never recommend you again. They just say, oh, okay, that's how he does it. He or she, I'm done. Bye-bye. Only one person complained, though. Oh, it wasn't that bad, right? Only one person complained. Well, no, only one person had what word do I want to use? Had the gall to come up and actually say something to you, or had the confidence to come up and say something to you. The rest of them just dismissed you, essentially, right? So that's something to really keep in mind.
Yeah.
Harsh highs, I think, a lot of times comes down to mid-range, not treble. I always, on my 3-band EQ, and I always put my mids almost all the way down when I'm playing at loud volumes, because you don't really need a lot of mid-range. If you have good quality speakers, you typically don't need a lot of mid-range, and that's where you get that harshness, that brightness.
Yeah.
The treble does some of that a little bit too, but really it's the mid-range that's going to make your ears ring. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think knowing your equipment, I think Mackie does a really good job. I think Evie does a really good job. QSC does a really good job of kind of figuring out their DSP on the back end so that they can produce a pretty well balanced audio product, you know, once the music comes out of the speaker, that it doesn't require a lot of tuning these days with modern digital DSP. That being said, you still need to know what you're doing. You still need to know your gear. You know, perfect example, I think, of in recent times is I see a lot of guys that are reviewing the EV70s and the EV90s, and they're complaining about like, oh, it's not loud enough. It's not loud enough. It's not loud enough. Like, dude, you're plugging a mixer into a mixer. Like you have to know that that's a mixer built into the back of that speaker, and that you have to gain stage your stuff properly. And so, you know, guys who know that, or guys who take the time to like look into it and research with, you know, the videos. There's been so many videos of guys who've gone to Evie and had the team at Evie explain to them like, hey, this is how you gain stage these speakers. Then they go, oh, okay, I was doing it wrong. And so I see that a lot.
And for anyone watching that is afraid to ask what gain staging is, it's really, I like to sum it up like this: set it at the source, not the master. Right? So get your master where you feel comfortable, and then you go to your gain or your additional channel fader at that point to get it to the volume that it needs to be. But that typically is going to change throughout the event, throughout the audio that you're playing.
Yeah.
Keeping the master kind of where it is, but that's really what it is making sure all of those things are in line, and red is never good. So one practice that has been very helpful for me, I don't know about you, Jeff, maybe you can chime in and let me know, but I walk the room constantly. What does that mean? It means I want to hear what the guests hear. So if I finish a mix and I'll just take a quick walk, I'll go on the dance floor, I'll go back to the corner real fast of the room, wherever I might be. I want to experience it the way the guests are experiencing it. So I can honestly say, all right, yeah, it's a little too loud. Maybe it needs to be louder. I can't hear the vocals, whatever it is, but you're not going to get that impression or get that frame of reference from behind the DJ booth. You're certainly not. And you really need to go out there. So walking the room to me is probably the best advice that I could give when it comes to this, because sometimes your levels might look good, but again, it's just too loud and you can't tell from being behind the booth. Anything to add on that?
Yeah, no, if you don't know what your speakers sound like, then you're screwed before the gig even starts, man. Like, you have to get out in front of those speakers and you have to hear what they sound like in the room. That's what sound check is for. So make sure you're showing up early enough that you're giving yourself enough time to not only have everything set up well ahead of time, but also giving yourself enough time to set up and do sound check, because it's an incredibly important part of the setup process. And you need to clear, like, give everybody in the room a heads up, like whatever staff, catering, whoever's milling about doing stuff, you have to get everything set up and let them know, hey, everybody, it's going to get loud for a minute, but I promise it'll be worth it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And you know what? One thing to keep in mind too, and one thing that I've done, I've typically used one or two specific sound check songs that I know well.
Yeah.
So I can tell, like, all right, no, this typically sounds like, because if you're always using a different song, it's more difficult. If you use the same song every time, you have a better frame of reference and a better bass line to say, oh no, the bass is a little low on this. I need to turn it up, you know? So find that really good recorded high track and use that one as your sound. Have a sound check song is really the thing to say there.
Well, and especially if you're using separate subwoofers and mains, you got to make sure that your subs and mains are balanced with each other. And that's one of the bigger things that I sometimes forget, because I don't always take out subwoofers to my gigs. I will sometimes forget that, like, I got to tune my subs first, make sure that they're hitting hard enough or that they're loud enough that they feel right and they sound right, and then bring the mains up to match. And then sometimes, when I bring the mains up, they're a little too harsh and they're blowing out the subs. So I got to turn them back down so everything's balanced. It's really, that's part of the whole sound check process, is not only making sure that your system sounds good in the room, but also making that your parts of your system sound good with each other.
Excellent. Good point. Thank you. All right, man. We're more than halfway through. Right on time. I like it. Number 4, ignoring lighting and atmosphere. You know nothing about this, right?
This is a tough one for me.
Sound gets attention, visuals get remembered, and also, you know, tying into what our next mistake will be, visuals are much easier to market than sound.
Yeah.
Can't hear sound so well in a TikTok video or on a picture, but you can certainly see, wow, that looks great. Or conversely, that don't look good at all. What is going on there?
Yeah.
You know, so sound makes impact, but visuals are an atmosphere, right? So the dance on the cloud, these create the vibe, these create moments, you know, and of course you're going to have sound the whole time, but the importance of lighting is really something that I think people have really started to fully understand it now, but it was definitely an afterthought in the past for sure. So what are some common traps here? Oh, good Lord. Hold on a second. There we go. Moving too fast. So common traps here. Unintentional lighting. What does that mean? Just placing lights wherever you feel like it, just to show you have lights with no intent. Just, you know, I'm not looking to wash that wall. I'm just looking to put a light out. Be a lighting designer as best you can. You know, try to look at the room and understand. I brought 20 lights. It doesn't mean I have to put 20 lights out. Maybe 14 looks great. Maybe only 2 moving heads instead of 4 looks better in that room. Be intentional with it. Don't necessarily just feel like, all right, well, I told them premium lighting shows, so I better just bring it all and just put out as much lighting as possible to validate the price that I charged them. You know, no, I don't think that's the best thing to do. I think people will understand the results and see the results more than the specifics of how many lights, you know, unless you're literally charging them by light. That's your call. Music and lighting not in sync. You know, this is not as much of an issue now as it was, as I don't see it as much now with companies like Ape Labs and Sound Switch and Maestro, DMX, and a lot of things and tools now to help with this instead of having to be a DMX programmer or having a lighting person controlling it for you. Really has made things a lot easier in that respect. But you got to have music and lighting in sync. Too much diversity. So meaning I've got 6 different styles of lights. I'm using all different colors. Nothing is matching. Some I have strobing maybe, some I don't. And they're just not following each other. It doesn't seem like a lighting show. It just seems like a bunch of lights.
Looks like chaos.
I always say you don't want to look like a carnival.
Yeah.
Right? You want to look like a programmed light show or a stage show or something like that. And the last one on this list was too bright.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about brightness. It's about the way the color appears and the vibrancy. Right. So I think that's something that's important to understand. And these will make a big impact if you do them properly. You know, and again, we can't get into everything too specific. I'm going to definitely do a lighting show and be more specific with exactly what I do, and you guys can see it. And we'll go from there. But why don't you share some of your thoughts on this? Because you did a video for me on Ape Labs, actually, that started off with 7 seconds of you being anxious to say that you really never owned lights before.
Yeah. So, and at the time it was true, man. A lot of what I had done over the last several years, I left the mobile industry in 2008, right? I did it for about a decade and then I left in 2008. And, the whole decade that I was working in the mobile industry, I had most of that stuff provided for me. It was provided by the multi-ops that I was working for. So I never really had to own any of that stuff myself. And then when I left in 08, I transitioned to clubs and bigger events. And, you know, making that transition meant the clubs had the lighting, or the events would coordinate with a professional AV company, and the AV company would provide the lighting. And so like there again, I just didn't having need to buy lighting. I didn't really have to think about lighting stuff until very recently, when I started getting opportunities to do not just DJing work, but also sound and lighting work, and provide lighting for stages, and, you know, small stages, like little kind of like, you know, couple of light trees kind of thing, nothing too complicated, but it was still something that needed a little more growth out of me, and I needed to invest some money. So last year I invested some money in some lighting, and man, already like I've invested at this point probably about $1,500 in lighting altogether. And out of that, I would say I've opened a bunch of doors already, just with having some basic lights in my kit that I can go, yeah, I can sort of expand on this, and I can try to, you know, improve this. And it also gives me a base to work from, so that if we need something that I don't have, I can build the client and then go get it. And then I have it in my kit for the next time I need something like that. So really, like, having lights, I wish I had done it sooner, because it provides sort of a base for me to work from, and it opens a lot of doors that weren't open to me previously.
Did I show this? I did, right?
Yeah. But I think it's a good point, though. Like visuals get remembered. People, you know, in the food industry, in the restaurant industry, they say people eat with their eyes first. And I think that's also very true in DJing. You can be clean with your mixing. You can have the dopest tracks, and if it looks like crap, people are going to remember that.
That's all good stuff, man. Thank you for sharing that story. I love it. I agree with you. And, you know, without getting too windy on this and talking about it too much, it is definitely going to add value to you as a professional mobile event company, whether that's a DJ, a musician, band. Maybe you don't play music at all. Maybe you just show up at sound and lighting. You know, you're a production company, you know?
Yeah.
Having your own stuff, and especially having a good quality lighting system that you can rely on, that's going to allow you to change up what a room looks like, it does pay for itself. It's just one of those things where you will get a return on that investment. In today's world, it's almost a necessity. You know, you're going to get passed by if you don't have any lighting, I think, unless, you know, you're such a good DJ and you've been doing it for so long and people just know you and have to have you. But I'm going to tell you what, those people like that, they have a lighting person, because they understand.
Yeah.
And they won't buy it themselves. They won't deal with it. They'll just worry about the music, but they'll have someone, you know, that they'll pay, and that will bring the lighting, because they understand. So good stuff, man. All right. So listen, we made it to the end. We got our last mistake that cost DJs and performers out there thousands. Mistake number 5, not marketing between events. No social presence.
I'm guilty of this. I'm very guilty of this. I think we all are at some point, but like, I'm very guilty of this.
If you disappear, clients forget you.
Facts.
And it's true. I mean, it's sad, right? But it's also true. And I'll say this. Before social media, in my world, right, I was a nightclub DJ.
Yeah.
You couldn't post to really stay relevant. You couldn't, you know, put yourself out there in that capacity. You know what you had to do? You had to go out. You had to go to clubs. I want to DJ at this club. I better go to that club on Saturday night and make some contacts.
Start hanging out, make some friends. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I'll become friends with the DJ who will then tell me who got him the job. And then I'll try to find that person and have a drink with them. And I'll tell you, when I decided to not do that as much, I didn't get hired as much because it's just a matter of networking, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same for social media now where, wow, you have an opportunity not just to reach people you know already, but you can reach people you don't know. And what I've learned with social media, do your best to try to reach the people that you don't know that will really resonate and relate with what you offer or what you're saying or what your thoughts are. I think a lot of times people start with social media and they use their own personal accounts and they start to think, oh, wow, I'm doing something different here. What is Joan going to say? What is Jim going to say? Oh, Billy's going to make fun of me if I say that. Oh, well.
Yeah.
That's because they're probably jealous. They're not doing it and you can. And a lot of times your friends, they don't want to see you have success. Probably not good friends, to be quite honest with you. But either way, don't worry about those people. I know it's hard. Trust me. Trust me, I know. But if you can really try to think about the people that will get something out of what you have to say or may not know what you're saying, not have background on it already, those are the people you want to be speaking to. What do you think?
I honestly, man, I think, you know, if you're going to be in the public eye, if you're going to be an entertainer, you can't half-ass it. You know, there's a lot of folks that are okay with being in front of a room and DJing to a bunch of people in a room, but then they're not comfortable going on social media and being in social media. But like you can't have one without the other anymore. Unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. You have to be okay with making content, putting it out there. And if you're not good at making content, that's fine. You can practice making content just like you practiced being a DJ. You know, there are, you know, when I started making content online, I had to tell myself outright, there are 15-year-olds with a shitty webcam that are doing way better than I am. And they're making better content than I am. So it's not the gear. It's not the professionalism. You just have to do it and you have to get better at it. And, you know, like I just had to keep reminding myself over and over, like, if these kids can do it, you can too. It's just, you have to, you can't just phone it in. You have to show up for yourself.
That's a great thing. And I hear what you're saying. I don't think age has much to do with it. I think it's a confidence. I think it's a level of confidence and ability for me.
Yeah.
And younger people, they're born into this, right? So like, it's so normal for them. I never really wanted to be in front of a camera. I really didn't. I don't know if that was because I just didn't want to do it or because I was nervous to do it. And I was nervous about the feedback. I'm not sure. Probably the latter, quite honestly, because I've always been able to speak well in front of a camera and things like that. It's always been a strength. I just didn't feel comfortable. But that being said, you can run social media, especially for a DJ or an events business, and never be in front of the camera. There's so many faceless ways to do this and just to be consistent. And now with all of the tools and different platforms that allow you to manage social media and schedule posting, and, you know, there's no excuses anymore. You have to find the time. And I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself and everyone else watching, because I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one out there is. We all do our best.
I'm so guilty, dude. This one especially, like, I'm so guilty of this. Not posting enough online, not using the tools available to me consistently. And like, I'm doing it even now. Like, you know, I could be posting more than I am. And you know, so it's really, I think it's good to talk about this stuff, especially from the standpoint of, you know, we're like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm an expert. I just know what I should be doing. And I would encourage others to do the things that I know I should be doing.
I know enough to be dangerous. And for me, I've had trouble in my past relinquishing control, you know, because I have help. I have staff. I have people that work for me. Yeah. And when it came to the social media, it's just, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then life happens, and, I'm a single parent, and I'm running multiple businesses, and you know what? Shoot, that post didn't get up today. I didn't get to schedule that. And I'm telling you, I talked about discipline at the beginning. What I've really learned to do at this point is I schedule time for myself to schedule my posts as far out as I can. I try to do a week's out. But if you try to do it on a daily basis and to find the time at a certain time, because you're supposed to be posting at, when your audience is watching the most, you're going to miss one. It's just going to happen, so it's about being prepared and taking ownership that if you don't do it, others are going to do it, and they're going to pass you by in today's world, especially. And it's going to probably be someone who might not be as good a DJ as you, and it's going to piss you off. So
been there.
It's going to piss you off. Trust me, there's a lot of salty DJs out there that are upset about those who have leveraged social media to gain success. And you know what? I guess my question to you is, why didn't you also do it? Because if you didn't do it, nothing really to be up. I guess who are you really upset with, right?
There's a guy I've been known in Portland for 15 years now as like the video game DJ. I worked for the Retro Gaming Expo for many years, and so like I'm pretty well known in Portland as the video game DJ in town. And there's another guy that started DJing some of the local video game bars here in town during the pandemic. So the last couple of years, he started popping up and doing these little DJ shows where he was playing video game music at some of these video game bars. And I had a conversation with him, and I remember the first conversation I had with him, he thought I hated him or thought I was going to be mad at him. I was like, no, man, I'm not going to like fault you for booking a gig. Like I'm frustrated with the client, with the venues for not like keeping in touch with me or whatever. But like, that's between me and them. Like, I'm not going to hate on another DJ for booking a gig. I also like, I kind of had to like, I had to put it to him. I was like, look, dude, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. Like, you've been at it for 3. Like, it's okay. I would actually rather help you. And like, if you ever need anything from me, let me know. But man, it got kind of awkward there for a minute because he felt like he was stepping on my turf a little bit. And I was like, no, man, like there's plenty of room for everybody. I think DJs could be doing more to support each other rather than trying to compete with each other. But one of the things that you got to do if you're going to have that attitude of being supportive of other DJs, you got to make sure that you're doing what you need to do for yourself. Yeah. I can't blame him if I'm not doing the social media work. Right. That's on me. It's my own fault.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Switch. We did it. We made it through all 5. All right. So if you're watching this out there on live right now or on the replay, which mistake are you guilty of? Switch and I have been very open talking about. I've made all these mistakes, right? At some point, I've been doing this for a long time. I've made them all, and I learned from them. I really have. And again, it's consistency, discipline, and understanding that at the end of it, what's at stake? If you continue to make these mistakes, you're going to get passed by. You're going to lose tips. You're going to get bad reviews. You're not going to get referrals. You're going to be running out in the middle of an event trying to buy a cable.
Oh, God.
And the Radio Shack they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
Run out to Radio Shack like you used to be able to. God, I'm dating myself. But, and guess what? They're not going to call you back if you're doing a bar or a lounge or a restaurant if you piss the customers off because your sound was bad or whatever it might be. So I'm going to end again with 2 poll questions. The first one that we did earlier, which was, what was your best DJ mistake? I like calling them I like referring to them as your best mistake because, again, if you made that mistake and it was bad and it hurt the party or whatever, or you lost money, I hope you didn't make it again, right? So it was a good mistake in the long term because you learned from it.
Yeah.
What was your best mistake out there? Let's hear from you. I'd love to hear those comments. And then last question. what loses more money long term? What do you guys and girls think out there? Sound issues or no social proof? Social proof equals social media.
I know my answer to this.
I think it's social proof for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I think in today's day and age, yes, I think that's probably what's going to lose you more money overall. But curious to hear what you think out there. Any final thoughts, Switch?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think sound issues can be forgiven. Sound issues can be corrected on the next gig, but social proof, if you don't have any, then you're dead in the water. There, you can't reply to if there's nothing there to reply to. You can't book somebody who you can't see, right? But I think, in terms of the sort of like bigger conversation here, it really comes down to, when you listen to any of the biggest DJs in the world, you listen to the Z Trips, you listen to the Scratch Bastards, you listen to the Jazzy Jeffs of the world, they will all talk about how important it is to stay humble and to keep your head on when you're in these situations where it's very easy to let your ego take control, and you have to keep that in check. And part of keeping your ego in check is acknowledging that even if you're a veteran, you can still make mistakes, and that's okay. It's just a good reminder sometimes, and a good opportunity to learn sometimes where some of your plates that you're spinning, so to speak, start to slow down. I'm kind of mixing metaphors here, but my point is, don't be afraid of these mistakes. Try to learn from them. And they don't have to be career enders. They can be opportunities.
They're not life sentences, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really difficult to be accountable and to look in the mirror and say, shoot, I am making these mistakes. I can do better. But I want to challenge everyone out there watching, myself included, look in the mirror and find one thing that you can improve on. And I bet it's going to help you out, and you're going to get something out of it. And that little change is going to make a bigger difference than you might expect. So I want to say thank you, first of all, to you, DJ Switch. We made it through this entire stream without any bad regional jokes. I'll leave it there.
I appreciate that.
And I will continue that as much as I can.
If you know, you know.
Thank you all. I was watching too much Howard Stern, listening to too much Howard Stern at that point. I need to drop some things. But thank you everyone out there for watching. We're going to be back next Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm excited to be back with you. I'm excited to continue to do these. Switch will be contributing with us often. Not going to be here every week, but I understand he's got his own life and he's got other things going on. So I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it, man. I love having you on. I love having these conversations with you, and all of your insights were really excellent. And I thank you for sharing them with our audience here. And I want to thank everyone out there for watching. Make sure you are subscribing. We're going to continue to keep doing these. Plus, I do review videos and a lot of other things as well on our YouTube page, Facebook. We're always posting about different things. Of course, this show was sponsored by DJ Supply Store. Check us out at djsupply.store.com. Love to earn your business there. And make sure you're checking us out on social media at the DJs Guru. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, DJ Switch. We'll see you guys on the flip side. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.